You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic boot camp, California Jam, Move Well University, the Black Diamond Club, Pure Chiro Notes, the Chiro Dex app, Dr. Alok Trivedi, Chiro Spark, Chirogram, Chiropractic Wealth Management, 8 Weeks to Wellness, Integrative Freedom, and Element Mattresses. Let's hustle. Welcome to DC to Be episode. I have Machesney Thiel with me, and she is down at Palmer, Florida, and that's St. Augustine, Florida, right?
School is in Port Orange. I live a little bit north.
Okay. And I am in the Grand Valley of Grand Junction, which is on the western slope of Colorado, which I like to say when no one lives. I absolutely love it out here. I'm about 6 blocks from the Colorado River. And just for reference, our sponsor today is Move Well University. That's Dr. Todd Pickman. If you guys want to add more mobility and function into your practice, reach out to Dr. Todd and he'll get you guys set up with the Move Well University program. So without further ado, Machesney, why chiropractic? Why did you decide that you wanted to get into this profession?
Yeah, I love this question because my family, it kind of came out of left field for my family when I said I was going to go to school to be a chiropractor. But I grew up knowing I always wanted to help people and be in the health field. And to me, that was, at first, how prestigious of an MD could I be? And then I got really sick and, went through the whole gamut of, pills, physical therapy, and nothing really helped me. So I switched kind of to a more natural thinking of how can I get my body back to where it's supposed to be. And that's where chiropractic came into my healthcare. And it just kind of bloomed from there. And I switched from being kind of an extreme MD thinking person to being more of like aligned with the DCs and the natural, and went to school for health sciences, really loved the nutrition and exercise aspects of that. And both of those align really well with my chiropractic future. And here I am.
So how old were you when you got your first adjustment?
Oh boy. I was in 8th grade. So 13 maybe?
Sure.
Ish.
I mean, so many times people, they get into chiropractic school and they've never been adjusted before.
Yeah, I had a few of those in my class and it shocked me. But like one of the guys who I'm pretty close with now, he had never been adjusted. And within the first week, he was over at the school clinic getting adjusted. And he came back and was like, wow, this is such a good choice. Like, for sure, I made the right choice. I'm glad I'm here. So it's cool to see kind of those first-time adjustment patients come out and know that what they're doing is right.
So before we get into the nuts and bolts of my questions for you, let's talk a little bit about how you mentioned to me before we started the interview, how social media is changing for the younger generations, and a little bit about what your favorite social platform is.
Yeah, so I prefer Instagram over anything. In fact, I don't have any other social media apps on my phone other than Instagram. The rest of my social media is always on my computer. But because I am sometimes identifying as a millennial, I'm more often on my phone than on my computer, which includes Instagram. And I remember when I first got into social media, I was so excited to have all of the different platforms, the Twitter, the Facebook, MySpace, like, whoa, throwback. And now, my cousins, they're all younger than me. My whole family's younger, and all they do is Instagram. My cousins just got their Facebook, but they're never on it. My brother is 6 years younger than me. He doesn't have a Facebook, and he doesn't want a Facebook. And I remember just like begging my mom to let me have a Facebook and let me have a Twitter and all this stuff. And now that's not the case for anyone else in my family. It's all about Instagram. So that's kind of my preference. And I think that's where, at this point, I think I'm going to build my platform, at least to start.
Yeah, that's cool. I really enjoy the Instagram thing. We're approaching 5,000 followers on the Chiro Hustle page. So I think that's a growing platform. And I think that the more people, actually, the reason I really like Instagram is because there's no limit to the amount of followers you can have. And on Facebook, you have to once you hit a certain growth, like 5,000 followers on your personal page, you have to become a public figure or start a
Oh,
business page. Yeah.
I didn't realize that.
Yeah. So they have a cap on how many friends you can have on your Facebook personal page.
Social media limiting the socialization. Got it.
Exactly, and that's just it. Is I'm going to be social now on social, and I'm going to say hello to Lisa Tacky. She is over at McTimney's College over in England, and she says, "I wish I." She goes, "I was 20 when I had my first adjustment. I wish I was checked for vertebral subluxation since birth."
No kidding, right? I think back because I had a pretty strenuous health journey. It was traumatic. I have complex regional pain syndrome or reflex sympathetic dystrophy, same diagnosis. And I think back, like, man, if I had just gone to a chiropractor from the beginning, how much of that could I have avoided? But then I also think, look at the experience I have and look how much patient perspective I have. And I'm just going to use that to make sure that my patients don't have to go through the roller coaster that I did.
And the thing is we can't go back in time. We can, have wishes and we can have hopes and we can have thoughts of, wow, how my life would have been if I had gotten adjusted since birth. I think everybody under the chiropractic flag that waves the chiropractic flag wishes they would have gotten adjusted since they were little. And
yeah,
I don't know one person that was like, gosh, I can't wait till I get another day older to not get adjusted. I think I think we're all like excited once we start getting adjusted to stay under good regular maintenance care. And
for sure.
I think that it helps us with all aspects of life. I've talked about this many times, but it helps make more of a complete person, and it helps people with anxiety, helps people with depression, helps people with psychological things like PTSD. It helps people with obviously the aches and pains that people have. But now let's talk about something that you're really interested in, and that is the research and evidence-based of chiropractic and where that's going in the future.
Yeah, so at Palmer, where I go to school, we're definitely a philosophy-based school. We, have the founder of chiropractic that, yields philosophy quite well. But we're also really supportive with the evidence-based, research and really learning how to read research and then translate that to explain to patients, how that applies to their life. The research that's out there is incredible. If you know where to find it, there's a plethora of research. But being able to read it, as DCs, we're trained how to read research. Like, we're trained how to read with the scientific eye, but our patients aren't necessarily in the same boat as we are. So to me, I think it's really important to find that research, break it down to what our patients can understand, but then support that with the philosophy of chiropractic. I think they go hand in hand. And I know that there's some discussion out there between, different people, different groups, but I think that the evidence supports the philosophy wholeheartedly. And I think it's great that, I have the opportunity to use both in my future practice.
That's really cool. And how do you feel about the old school philosophy of chiropractic? Do you see that still as relevant today?
Absolutely. Actually, I have one of my favorite BJ Palmer quotes. I wrote it down so I wouldn't mess it up because that would just be my luck, right? But it's, medicine is the study of disease and what causes man to die. And chiropractic is the study of health and what causes man to live. And I think that's probably one of my favorites from him, but it just rings so true that, when I was going through the MD route as a patient, it was all about like covering up a problem and not really fixing anything. It was just a matter of maybe delaying the progression of getting worse. And then I switched to chiropractic and it's like optimize, 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 live better, feel better. And I think that, even being in school, I just keep hitting all these milestones of feeling better and living better and being more optimal. And I didn't even realize what I was missing out on. So as a chiropractor, how do I deny what BJ Palmer said in that quote? I think that's exactly what my job is.
So let's turn back the clock a little bit. And I know that you said something about research and getting it to be applicable for the common person. What is that message? What is the message that we should be sharing with the person that knows zero about chiropractic but might have heard the wrong side of the story?
Yeah, well, and there's plenty of wrong side of the stories floating out there. So I think, it is important that we, first of all, educate our patients because there is so much to chiropractic other than just some low back pain, which, I mean, we obviously definitely help, but there's more to it than that. So finding the research that, can show the connection between certain vertebral levels and, say, like the heart and why maybe their blood pressure is high or maybe they have an arrhythmia. I started getting upper cervical adjustments within the past, well, it was about a year ago actually. And so many things from like my muscle tone and headaches, vertigo, that all went away. And you find the research and it says that's exactly what it's going to do. If your head's not on straight, how do you expect the rest of your body to work?
Yeah, it's definitely fighting itself all the way downstream until it hits the sacrum and then it hits the extremities.
Yeah. So I think just kind of looping it back and saying that like, hey, the spine is kind of the core of your body, and as it goes out, the problems can get better or they can improve based on what you're doing to your spine, because that's where spinal cord is. A lot of people know about a spinal cord and a spine. So I think being able to relate it back to that, because we are, I think, to the general population known as back doctors. So if we can show the relationship between other parts of health and the spine and the back, I think that's the best way to kind of reach the public and get them to understand the evidence that is so clearly there.
Well, one of the things, Machesney, that I've done, I don't know if you knew this about my history, but I did 36 months of intense screening where I did over 600 events and scheduled in over 2,500 people. And
Wow.
with that experience, I would always tell people, you are not your symptoms. Your name is Machesney.
Yes.
And then I would
Yep.
explain to them on a degeneration model, I'd take the perfect looking segment and then I'd take the worst looking segment. And I'd say, which one of these are you? And
Yeah.
they'd be like, I don't know. And I'd be like, I don't either. But you're telling me that you're telling me that you have a concern coming from this part of your neck or your neck. Well, we won't know what that looks like until we get you checked at the office.
That's awesome.
So then I show them a somatic chart and I show them where those nerve endings go. And I show them where that vagal nerve goes and where the vagus nerve flows down. And I say, if this is out of alignment, it's going to have a downstream effect on all of your body, not just
Yeah.
your neck pain, but it's also having an effect on this organ and this organ and this organ and this organ. So there's this amazing thing called a brain-body connection that you might not be aware of. So then I try to package it in a way to show like, this is what's going on. I don't know what's going on. You should go get checked. That's how we can help you. And
Yeah.
I think that once we can, streamline it to be a very smooth conversation as to you have a concern, it's coming from there. But when you see this, it's going to there too.
Yeah. I know when I saw those, the same types of charts for the first time, I would follow it and be like, whoa, like no wonder that doesn't feel good. And it just like it clicks. And I think that so many people, especially, even related back to social media with all of the pictures and the visual stimulation, I think people are learning visually. So to be able to see a picture and relate it other than, maybe a different, like an essay or a paragraph, I think seeing that picture, it clicks with people a lot quicker. So I think, that was probably a brilliant tactic on your part to really get people into offices.
Well, it just when you can have a conversation with somebody and you can talk with them, not talk at them, I think that's a massive strategy that people need to learn when educating on the way the human body works and how chiropractic can help unwind it.
Yeah.
So I have an audience participation here. My good friend Andrew Stewart back in Davenport, Iowa, where I'm from, he says, love this show. Always learning something new about chiropractic. I'd rather watch a show that teaches me something instead of dumbing me down.
Same.
So thank you for realizing that we are providing value every day that we go live on these Facebook Lives. And then we have another comment here from Sarah Zwink, and she is a DC to be as well. And she goes, love these DC to be interviews. And Actually, Lisa Tacky also commented and says, "Great strategy, Jim." And honestly, Machesney, I went out. I hated technology doing screenings. I think that with the somatic chart and the four bones of the lumbar degeneration model, anybody can be successful if they have the right way to have a conversation with the prospective new patient.
Yeah. I think that just to tie it right back into the philosophy, we started this career without a lot of technology and done by hand. That's what chiropractic means. So I think that we as people have a lot more value than the technology. But to meet with this day and age, you have to have the technology to reach the people. But then once the people are on board, having that face to face and done by hand mentality, it can go a long way, I think.
I'm going to ask you a real curveball question. Hopefully you can hit it. Do they offer one class at your school training you or teaching you how to work at a health fair or at a screening event?
Not to my knowledge. However, we do have communication classes as well as a pretty big and growing business department. So we're working on integrating things like that, learning how to communicate and reach out and build a business plan, which it's just phenomenal. I'm actually pretty close with the business department leader, and she's just done wonders and gives a lot of pointers in how to find opportunities to learn how to do screenings and go to health fairs. But just this morning, like a couple hours ago, a couple of my friends were talking about working on our elevator pitches and just kind of, even if it's just once a month, going through with each other and practicing an elevator pitch and just kind of improving and altering based on maybe who our potential patient could be. So we don't have a class, but we're pushing for it.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This episode is brought to you by Clothes for Chiro, Chiro Sushi, Barbara Eaton's 56-day chiropractic boot camp, California Jam, Move Well University, the Black Diamond Club, Pure Chiro Notes, the Chiro Dex app, Dr. Alok Trivedi, Chiro Spark, Chirogram, Chiropractic Wealth Management, 8 Weeks to Wellness, Integrative Freedom, and Element Mattresses. Let's hustle. Well, cool. Well, if you guys ever do want my influence down there, I'd love to come down there and help educate on how to set up what you need and how to actually do a proper external event. And that's something that I really enjoyed doing for the past 2.5 years. And since then, here it is. I'm retired.
It must be rough.
But I will continuously help the profession learn and train and become better at harvesting their communities for new patients. And I watched this. You said you're interested in pediatrics. Well, I watched this. This video that Sean Dill had out yesterday. It was from October at the Pediatric Summit down in Savannah, Georgia. And the guy, he was saying this. He said, 1 out of 10 people see a chiropractor, but we're not hitting the other 9. We're recycling the same patient to different chiropractors. So we need to really figure out how to go out there and get more new patients that aren't recycled patients.
Yeah, we actually, during our little pre-interview conversation, I mentioned we have homecoming at Palmer, Florida this weekend. And one of the conversations or speakers that we're going to have is going to talk about the poll that Palmer just did, the Gallup poll, and talking about the statistics of, who's being a patient and who we're missing. And I think the who we're missing is, like you're saying, really important because they don't know. If they knew, they'd be here.
Exactly. And if they knew that it was good for their kids, the whole family would be under care.
Yeah.
And it's an old, I think it's a Reggie Gold or a Sigafus quote that said, "Why would you come here and get healthy and leave the rest of your family home to be sick?" Right.
That's ludicrous. Who would do that?
So it should be a full family event to get checked and adjusted if necessary. So let's talk a little bit more about what you're doing to prepare yourself outside of school for your chiropractic future.
Yeah, so like I was saying, we have homecoming this weekend, and we have some really excellent speakers coming to talk about a lot of different aspects of chiropractic, whether it be the legal and ethical parts versus different techniques. So I'm going to that. I'm really excited about it, and I think being involved continuously in seminars and conferences. So I have a conference coming up in a couple months, which is a technique adjusting seminar. And then I have a conference later on this year for women chiropractors. And I think it's good to just continuously stay involved. I also think it's really important to look for mentors and see what they're doing, what got them to be successful enough that, like for me, that I look up to them. So I think, following through and having those conversations and being a little bit outspoken and outgoing to reach out to those people and pick their brains as much as they're willing.
So I know you said that you're going to a couple conferences. Which conferences are you going to? And maybe who are some of your mentors that maybe led you to go there?
Yeah, so I'm going to the Charette seminar in Daytona, and that's in April. That's for extremity adjusting. And it's kind of just known at our school that, like, you should do that. It's everyone who comes back is just like mind blown at how much they learned and how much they're able to apply into practice in the clinic and then their own practice outside of school after graduation. So that's just and it's like 10 miles from school, and I'm sure that's intentional, but it's kind of just known that as soon as it's announced, you better get on it and get registered because there's a limited number of spots. So I'm very thankful that I was able to get in on that seminar. And then I have the Women's Chiropractic Conference, Women's DC, and that's in Orlando. I want to say like the 12th to 14th of October-ish. Don't quote me on the dates.
I think you're right.
But so I just registered for that. I'm really excited. They have a lot of really powerful women chiropractors coming, and I think that there's a lot of really powerful men in chiropractic, and I think women are really starting to kind of populate the power positions right alongside the men. So I'm excited to have that conference coming up. Still a ways away, but it's after boards, so that's kind of a light at the end of the tunnel. Get through boards, then you have the fun conference. So I think that'll be a good experience.
So second part of that question is, who are a couple of your mentors and how have they influenced you?
Yeah, so I would say that number one is Dr. Taylor Pascal. He graduated this past term from Palmer, Florida. I met him as my student intern. He was adjusting me in clinic, and him and I, he wasn't supposed to be my doctor, but he walked in and said something, and I was immediately like, whoa, who are you? Like, how do you know this? Like, here's what he said. He said, your pain scale is different because you have a chronic pain condition. 0 doctors in my life had ever said that. MDs, nurses, anybody. No one had ever said that. In this like student doctor, I mean, he was a student, but like he was way, way wise beyond what his experience had been. So I just was like, who are you? And I immediately knew that I had to learn as much as I could from him, and I did. And we still talk, and even though he's opening his own practice with his wife, I'm so happy for him. So sad for me because it's not by me. But he really opened my eyes and introduced me to a couple other people and experiences that, I'm slowly getting into to find some more mentors. But he introduced me to, here you go, the Chiro Sushi and the Samurai of Chiro Sushi. So that's up and coming. School has been taking a little bit of a front burner on that, but we'll get there. And the more that I'm reading, the more people I'm finding that I'm really, inspired by. And then as kind of a separate segue from that, I found the Women's Chiropractic group. And there's some really powerful women in there. Obviously, it's a women's chiropractic group, but just kind of, I'm excited to meet people from there so I can kind of see who I click with and who can be, a female mentor for me in that group.
That's so cool. Yeah, I think that it's definitely important for people to have mentors. Even I have mentors. I'll tell you a couple quotes from a couple of my mentors that I really like. The first influence into the chiropractic profession is Dr. Matt Walker. He got me into the profession 7 years ago. I'm pushing into year number 8 right now. But he said, if you just get out of your own way, you could change the world. And
Yeah.
coming from a very headstrong individual, I looked at that as I almost resented him. I was like, why would you tell me that? And anyways, it's good to be challenged by somebody that sees the world different than you do. And
Yeah.
then another one of my mentors, his name's Herschel Oliver. He's not a DC, but he told me, quit taking what people give you and start taking what you want.
There you go.
So there's some words of wisdom for everybody out there watching. If you want to find a mentor to challenge you, don't roll over easy and take what you do want, and then realize that you do have the power to make an impact and change the world. And so those are my nuggets of wisdom for my mentors to you. And
Awesome.
I did get a chance to meet Taylor Pascal at Chiro Sushi last year, and his dad made a profound impact on me because he takes care of so many Olympic athletes. And I know that Dave, his dad, gets a lot of cases of people that other people just can't seem to help. So he gets like the toughest cases out there that go to him, and somehow he seems to get results out of them. So maybe that had some type of an influence on why Taylor had such a mind to have an influence on you.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got a chance to meet his dad at graduation, and I was very thankful for that opportunity because he just, you can see the resemblance and the philosophy and the drive, up the family line there. And I'm very thankful because my life is different for sure in the best way possible because of Taylor and how he kind of pushed me. I mean, honestly, he really pushed me hard to be a better patient and a better student and a better future doctor. And I can't say enough about that.
And that's just it. Everybody out there listening, you don't necessarily need to have somebody that's been practicing for 20 or 30 years to mentor you. It's quite easy to find somebody that is a little bit older than you, that's had more experience than you, but they don't even have to be in practice to have a profound impact on you. It's what you're saying.
Absolutely. Yeah. He really changed it, and I'm excited to see how his practice grows. And then to eventually pick his brain about that too.
So let's future pace you a little bit.
Sure.
What does it look like you in 5 years when you finish school and you're in practice?
Great question. So my husband is in the military, which means that I really don't know where I'm going, and neither does he. But the government's going to tell us where we're going. So to me, that means that I have to have a lot of flexibility in where I plan to go with this. Recently, I've kind of toyed with the idea of doing more of like an in-home practice and tailoring that towards the military people that I'm going to be surrounded with. It's such a close-knit family that word of mouth is really great. And that's like kind of how you're saying with the screenings to get them kind of coming in. That becomes a little bit easier given the setting. So I think it's going to end up being focused on military, pediatrics, and family practice in a very independent style.
That's really cool. I think it's interesting that you want to go out and help. Here we go. Here's Dr. Barb Eaton. She is such a supporter of what we do. Let's read her comment quick. She goes, "So excited to meet you face to face in October. I'm only a message away if you need to reach out. We're in this game called life, and we're in it to dominate it together. Keep rocking, girl."
Well, thank you. I'm really excited to meet you too. I can't believe you're watching.
Yeah, she actually is a flagship supporter of the Chiro Hustle podcast.
Yeah.
When I was looking for sponsors early on, I mentioned to her that we were looking for people, and she has the 56-day chiropractic boot camp that she can really double, triple, quadruple people's practices if they follow her coaching. And she's like, "I'm going to pay you 3 times more than anybody else to sponsor what you're doing because I believe in what you're doing so much."
Perfect. That's awesome.
So you have yourself a great advocate there with Dr. Barb. She's just a wonderful person. She's actually up in Alaska, and I'll be able to go see her in Alaska in August because I'll be up at the Alaska State Fair doing, I think it's 12 days of screening that I'll be out there for 12 hours. So I think it's something like 116 hours in 12 days, but I'll get a couple days after that to go hang out with Dr. Barb, hopefully.
That sounds amazing. I've always wanted to go to Alaska, but I'm in Florida. It's warm, and Alaska's a little intimidating. I came from Wisconsin, and I left for a reason. I love Wisconsin. but like it was cold. It was real cold.
Hey, I love Iowa too, but there's a reason I live in Colorado.
Yep.
I tell people all the time that people don't go to Iowa for the ocean. They don't go there for the mountains. They come there for the people. And I
Oh
think
yeah.
that that's what makes the Midwest style people so cool is like we're very much landlocked in our own world. And
Mhm.
we don't have a lot of tourists. We don't have a lot of tourism floating through our cities. So we really become well-grounded, quality type people. And Dr. Barb's from Michigan. And
Okay.
so we're all from that like tri-city or that tri-state area where it's Michigan, Wisconsin, and Iowa. And of course, we're attached to um, Minnesota, and I'm
Yeah.
attached to Nebraska, and Illinois is right there too. But us Midwesterners, I think that we get a different type of character from where we grow up, and
Yeah.
as we go out into the world, we bring that blue collar mentality and that wake up early and go to work mentality with us, and
Yeah.
we're not afraid to put our head out there and go to work. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. I'm definitely proud to be from the Midwest, but also excited to be exploring other parts of the country, which is great with the military life because that happens.
Well, I think this was a really fun interview, Machesney. I think that you shared a lot of becoming a chiropractor where you're at right now in your career. Is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd like to share with our audience today?
No, I think we really hit all the questions that I was hoping to get through, and got to spread some more knowledge and learn a bit more for myself too.
Awesome. Well, thank you for being our guest as a chiropractic student. I'm just going to close out and thank MoveWell University, Dr. Todd Pickman, for sponsoring this episode of Chiro Hustle Livestream. And I just want to thank you for making time and getting through the technical challenges that we had early on. And now we have this evergreen interview with you so you can share it with your friends and family. And in a
Yeah,
year or two, you'll go back and listen to this, and you'll see how much you've grown in the chiropractic world.
that'll be a good reflection.
Well, awesome. I'll just say have fun the rest of the day, and we'll see you at the chiropractic event for all the women in October.
Great. I really want to thank you for this opportunity. I had a lot of fun.
Awesome. Well, you're very well spoken, and I think you give a great representation for the future of women in chiropractic.
Great. Thank you. That means a lot.
All right. See you.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.